Hey, God bless you, family. This is Kenesha coming here to check in with you for the week. And today we're going to be talking about transition. Bishop Jesse Giddens says that he defined transition as this. He says, transition is not where you were, it is not where you're going, but it's somewhere in the in-between stages. So how many of you have ever gone through a transition, or probably even right now, you are right smack dab in the middle of a transition? And I wish I could say that transitions were great and wonderful, and sometimes they can be, and sometimes they can be dismal or devastating. But we always like the ones that are great and wonderful. But even in those type of transitions, there's always the in-between. There's always that period of change and frustration. So it reminds me of Dr. John Maxwell. He wrote a book, and I absolutely love this book. It is called The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And one of the chapters is called The Law of Pain. And here's what it says. It says it's good management of bad experiences leads to great growth. So when a woman is having a baby, I have not had a child at this time, but when a woman is having a baby, although that baby's beautiful, I've been told that that transition, and particularly at the end, right before it's time to deliver, is one of the toughest times, because on the other side of that birth is joy. But before we push out that joy, we go through something called transition, and oftentimes it hurts. So I have gone through many different transitions in my life. And when I read this part of Dr. John Maxwell's book, I'm on page 128. It reminds me of some strategies that I have to do for myself. So it says this. It says, when we're going through a transition, or when we're experiencing pain and difficulty, that it's important that we choose a positive life stance. So let me just read this to you because it really caught my attention. It says, the product of any person's life stance is their overall way of looking at things, whether they tend to be optimistic or pessimistic, cheerful or gloomy, trusting or suspicious, friendly or reserved, brave or timid, genius, generous or stingy, giving or selfish. So ultimately, when we choose to stay in the positive lane as we're transitioning, whether it be from a relationally, we could be transitioned from single to married, or unfortunately, it could be from married to single, and that's a tough transition. It could be a transition financially. It could be a transition emotionally. How many of you know, I can attest to this, that we can transition in our emotions up and down in 5 minutes of time. I can do that. I try not to, but I can. That's the reality of it. So no matter what the transition is, whether it's tragedy, we've talked about that over the last few weeks, something that's serious, or whether it's just something that maybe we would consider minor, all transition, it's going to be important that in the middle of it, that we remember to choose to think positive and to be positive. The other critical thing, and I encourage this, is to make sure not that we just think positive, but that we're actually speaking positive words out of our own mouths. Because it's going to be very important that when you're in the middle, that you remember what that dream is. If you're in a transition and it's about birthing your dream or vision that you have, it's going to be tough. You're going to have all sorts of mental warfare. You're going to feel like you don't have capacity, that your efficacy is not where it needs to be. But I encourage you to speak positive words. Remember what that dream is. We are not going to abort the dream. We're going to carry the dream into the third trimester. And we're going to birth that dream. Even in that transitional pain, we're going to speak positive. We're going to think positive, and we're going to speak positive words in our lives. I encourage you to do this. When you're having one of those high emotional transitional moments, I encourage you to write down some confessions. If you're believing to be a speaker, I'm going to be so booked to where I will have to turn people away. If you're believing to be a teacher, go to school, confess over yourself that you know exactly how to teach your audience or the children, if it's a school teacher, whatever that dream is, you protect it by being positive in your thinking, and you protect it by speaking positive words. And then we're going to push together in that transition, and we're going to come out on the other side with the birth of your dream. Signing off for this week, this is Kenesha. Love you, family, and be blessed.